And it said eyes closed. Often when you see Ballora in the game, she appears to have her eyes closed, while other animatronics often have their eyes open because, you know, it's their eyes. There's definitely something unsettling about that fact that her eyes are basically always closed. It's like she's maybe lulling us into a false sense of security, or maybe it's just that she doesn't use their eyes because, again, they're an animatronic, so why would they actually need working eyes? You don't think that she's always watching you because her eyes are closed, but she also seems to always be watching you. Do you know how creepy that is? Like, how is she able to locate you when her eyes are closed at literally all times? It's like Betty from Riverdale. Like, I've recently been catching up because I'm bored with nothing to do at home or nothing to watch. Now they have superpowers? Like, what the hell? Like, why are you trying to make this a superhero show when the CW has canceled literally all of them with the exception of The Flash? Don't do this. It got bad. But it was kind of alright. But like, don't. And at 9, Ballora. Due to her eyes being closed, some have theorized a connection between her and the mythological demon or creature known as Ballora. The fact that her eyes seem to be permanently closed and even unable to open is a fact that people tend to focus on, and this, as well as the similarity to her name Ballora, is where this theory comes from, though it is more likely a reference that she's just a ballerina. In Irish mythology, a Ballora is a giant cyclops who only opens a single eye to destroy his enemies, cause, you know, he's a cyclops. Otherwise, it's known for having its eyes shut. In Dungeons & Dragons, a Ballora is a demonic creature, often pictured with horns and wings, and people might have been pulling the name Ballora from Finn Balor's demon persona, if there are any WWE fans. I don't know, does Scott like WWE? And at 8, motivation. In the System Location game, where Ballora first makes her appearance, you are forced to shock Ballora into dancing at the beginning of the game. The frightening thing about this is the fact that you already know from the previous games that animatronics are often out to kill you. So, being forced to shock Ballora into performing just seems like a bad idea right off the get-go. It makes you feel like you're definitely going to end up dying, and you know what you do. So, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have shocked Ballora. I mean, then again, maybe also shocking her kind of saves you, because then, like, she's in, like, her dark area, and maybe the fact that she has her eyes closed is because her eyes are so sensitive to light. So, that's why she can see in the dark when her area is closed. But you shocking her, maybe it screwed up those circuits. You know, I'm just spitballing here, but what if it made it so that her eyes don't work properly, hence why they're always closed, and then that's why she has to rely on hearing to try to find you. Look at that. Coming up with theories around the spot. And at 7, family ties. A theory that some have is that Circus Baby is actually supposed to be the younger sister to Ballora, implying that the two are made in relation to each other somehow, perhaps both being created to be circus, because they're both humans, right? Or they're humanoid. I don't know. Another theory is that Elizabeth herself had an older sister who we hadn't actually met in the series, but who also died, whose soul was trapped and stored in Ballora somehow, preserving the other young girl. She possibly even died after Elizabeth did, but again, no. That's not a thing. And at 6, more aware. Some animatronics in these games seem to speak to you through pre-recorded lines, kind of like the Iron Man characters at Disney World. You know, they just tap their fingers and it says a line pre-recorded by Robert Downey Jr. In fact, a good number of them actually do this. Circus Baby, however, is not one of them because she's possessed by William Afton's daughter Elizabeth, and seems to be more in control of her thoughts, words, and actions, considering how, again, she's possessed. However, Ballora, while not being possessed, also displays some additional awareness compared to the others. She talks to you when you are in the vents underneath her gallery, and her words and phrases seem to be outside any kind of seemingly pre-recorded lines that would actually make sense for an animatronic of this caliber. This either means that Ballora could be possessed, but she's not, so it simply means that she has more advanced programming due to probably being an intentional substitute mother, because, you know, moms can't say the same thing 25 times in a row. I mean, they do, but you can't program them to. Halfway through into number 5, dancing. Last time we talked about how talented of a singer that Ballora was, but of course, being modeled after a ballerina, she is also known for being a dancer. She often glides and spins around her stage. She's meant to encourage children to get active and enjoy pizza, but obviously that didn't work because they had to do Mazercise and security breach. Maybe you could have joined Ballora for like a dance-themed birthday party, you know? Maybe Ballora could bust out some moves, do some little head twirls, you know? Get the freaky fresh in the hood. yo. Though I'm not sure if that's possible. I mean, maybe she was rented out, okay? Maybe she would somehow manage to dance, as maybe she has specific requirements or something when it comes to performing. I mean, she's supposed to be on that track, right? She crawls on all fours, I don't know. At least if you could rent her out. Considering her requirements, I'm pretty sure that you could, since she's meant to capture kids, and like renting them out would be the best method for gathering them in bulk, I guess. But considering how they were all stowed away underground, I'm not sure if they would intentionally be rented out after the capture of Elizabeth. And at 4, her different jump scares. All of Ballora's jump scares are different, but they're also all terrifying. There are some jump scares where her face and eyes remain closed, while others her face opens up and reveals those sharp teeth and her eyes are still closed. But she also has jump scares where both the inside of her face and her eyes are open. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't like that. The only thing that isn't scary about this is the fact that she has purple eyes, which honestly just links her again to Afton. It doesn't mean that she's possessed. I'm just saying that it links her to Afton because of the color purple. Anything purple we need to immediately be suspicious of, and I think we've learned that at this point. Anything purple, even slightly, is going to get called out in the comments. Even my shirt. No matter how many times I say it was an accident, no one ever believes me. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, room for one more. Okay, so this isn't directly related to Ballora, but I'm not sure if the mini-Renas will get their own list at some point, and they're affiliated with her, so I figured that it would make sense to include the story here. Plus, it's my list, I can do what I want. Do you want the mini-Renas to have their own list? Like, do you think that they deserve one? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if we actually have enough for any form of top 10. I don't think there's enough different versions of mini-Renas, but I mean, like, they're definitely creepy. So I feel like they could potentially be worthy of having their own, but I don't really want to do that, and I'm the only one who does videos here, so if I don't want to do it, it's not gonna happen. Either way, the story titled Room for One More from the Fazbear Frights book of 1:35 a.m. is actually featuring Ballora's little mini-Renas, and it's hella weird. In it, a security guard named Stanley spots them while working at his desk. Later on, he notices that he feels sick and realizes that mini-Renas must have been climbing inside his body while he was sleeping on the job. That's why you don't sleep on the job, kids, because little robots will claw themselves into your stomach. As he attempts to head to the hospital though, his body fails him and he falls to the floor, and a final mini-Rena approaches him as he's laying there dying, asking if there's room for one more. Terrified, obviously, he screams, and then that mini-Rena climbs into his goddamn mouth. What the hell, Scott? Or was this Andrea Wagner? Who wrote this one? You need a therapist, no matter what, okay? God. Penultimately, in number 2, crawling. Scott has confirmed that Ballora actually only has 2 ways that she moves. She's either gliding around on tracks, dancing gracefully, or when she's not on tracks, since she can't really do anything else, she's forced to crawl on all 4s to actually move around. That's some creepy man. That's like a demonic lady spider from hell. That's like you downloaded too many Skyrim mods and then you got out of control. Talk about things that are gonna keep you up at night. Now, I'm just gonna be terrified of spiders with boobs. I mean, I'm gonna be terrified about waking up and seeing Ballora looking down on me from the ceiling. And then have her face open up. And finally, in number 1, security breach. In security breach, we can eventually find a table surrounded by non-functioning staff bots. However, these staff bots, you can actually notice, are also seemingly painted. And it actually contains 1 bot for each of the Afton family members. Mr. Afton, or William Afton, being the one in the top hat sitting next to what is clearly meant to be the mother, one designed like baby meant to indicate Elizabeth since she ended up, you know, possessing an animatronic. Michael sitting across from Crying Child, who looks very similar to the Papa Bot, mostly because there's nothing else added to it. And the Crying Child robot, who is sitting across from Michael, who fittingly is missing his head. However, a lot of people have pointed out the similarities between the Mom Bot and the Ballora animatronic, using it it as evidence that the Ballora animatronic is in fact possessed by Mrs. Afton, or as these people are saying, Clara Afton, which is a whole other can of worms that I've talked about many other times. And while the two animatronics do look similar, and this is definitely something to take note of, I think that it merely serves as evidence that Afton built these animatronics in the image of his family, or at the very least he built the Ballora animatronic as a means of resurrecting his wife instead of actually having her possess the robot. When he made this robot, she would have already been dead, hence the design similarities and hence why he was inspired. He wouldn't really have made a robotic version of his wife if she wasn't dead, because I mean, like, they have 3 kids, so obviously things are going well there. And he only learns about possession after Elizabeth gets got by a baby, meaning that this is just to show that we were right about Ballora being a surrogate mother, or intended to be a surrogate mother, but not that she was actually possessed. And 10 technical difficulties. Proving just how terrifying she can be in Ultimate Custom Night and during Sister Location's Custom Night, Ballora, when she appears, will mess with your cameras. She approaches from either one of the 2 halls, but when she does, your cameras will be disabled. Apparently, Ballora is some kind of tech whiz, or emits some form of frequency jumbling, or some other waves of some kind. I don't know, maybe she's like a 5G tower. It ends up interfering with your cameras, kinda like Vanny in Security Breach. The only time you'll end up seeing her in Custom Night is when it's too late and she's already jump scared you, which is just a total move, honestly. But you know what? It's kind of a spicy one as well, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you won't know where she is until she comes at you. Get your mind out of the gutter. And at 9, hey, look, listen. The key to avoiding Ballora's jump scare in Ultimate Custom Night, though, is attentive listening, just like a real woman. This is what you're gonna hear in your headphones, okay? This is FNAF. Sound cues galore. So I'm assuming that you'll be wearing headphones. I mean, I usually don't, which is probably why I keep failing, but oh well. You'll hear Ballora's music, but you won't be able to see her. You'll want to close the door on the side that you hear the music coming from before she can attack. So yeah, wear headphones. If you succeed, the only way you'll know is by another sound cue, a thud meant to signify her leaving. And obviously, if you fail, you'll know, because you'll have a 7-foot tall surrogate mother in your face. And the whole listening to Ballora thing also comes from her game in Sister Location during Night 2. In that minigame, Baby tells the player to move slowly in the Ballora gallery. However, the player is allowed to run as long as they stop moving when Ballora's music gets louder, hence the whole listening to the music thing. Continuing this process will eventually get you to the break room on. And at 8, Electroshock. In Sister Location, you are of course forced into shocking Ballora to get her to perform and make sure that she's in operating order so that she can once again entertain the children of the next day. If you've seen part 1 of this list or have played Sister Location, you know what I'm talking about. Something, however, that we have yet to mention is what happens on Night 2 when you shock Ballora. That's right, she likes being shocked. She's kind of freaky like that. However, only Ballora's shadowy silhouette can actually be seen when you illuminate her stage, and then you're forced to shock her in order to motivate her into performing. Oh god. However, when you do so, all you're gonna hear is garbled, creepy, demonic voices which are emanating from the malfunctioning hand unit. Initially, it doesn't really sound like anything, it just sounds like garbled gibberish. But one Redditor, for some reason, plugged the audio into an audio recording program, probably Audacity, to see if they could actually make sense of it. And you know what? They did. Upon increasing the speed, they uncovered some actual words being said. To them, they said it sounded like argumentative, standards, elevation, passive, heights. Whatever that means. No idea what it means in with a bigger picture, or if it's just a random set of words that Scott decided to throw in our faces, but you know what? It's FNAF, it's always gonna be a mystery. And it's 7, singing. Ballora is said to be talented at dancing and singing. Her goal is to get children active and apparently dancing while they balance out all the pizza that they eat. I mean, it's kind of like a dumbed down Mazercise. You get to experience her singing firsthand in Sister Location though, where you hear her sing in a really creepy voice. Like, goddamn, this thing will send shivers down your spine. She appears to mainly focus on one melody, and one of the lines that you can hear her sing in the game goes as follows. I roam these halls alone all day, but now you're here, friend and prey. Yikes. She also sings about hearing your flesh and bones. So yeah, but you know what? I think that a lot of people sing about that, or at least the people I've hung around sing about that a lot. I don't really sing about it, I more like describe it, but I mean, I've dated people who sung about it, I think that's what they were singing about anyway. It got disturbing, so I kind of like tuned it out. And at 6, Ballora's stage. One of the creepiest parts of the introduction to the sister location game mechanics is actually like examining the stages. The first stage you're actually forced to illuminate is Ballora's, and the fact that her light and the other stage lights are they're not always on. It's weird, okay? It makes it more unsettling. You don't know what's out there. It's like when you turn off the lights when you're leaving the basement and you run up the stairs because you can't see anything. That's what's going on. The anxiety that you feel building the first time you turn that light on, and then the crazy thing is how muddy the lighting is, or like the thickness of the windows seems to make the stage still appear as though if it were being viewed through a vignette. I don't know what it means when the black is around your screen, you know, in like that circle. Even when Ballora and her mini arenas appear after you've administered the shock, it's disturbing. Either way. How about doing number 5, sharp teeth? Despite not being a nightmare animatronic and not being animal themed, Ballora, oddly enough, still has razor sharp teeth in her mouth for one reason or another, which mostly appears to be in the game to frighten you, because I mean, I don't really think there'd be a practical use for them unless it's just for absolutely slaughtering children, kind of like Anakin. But I mean, she has a few more human or like dull looking teeth in the front, but behind them, oh man, it's like a shark back there. It's crazy. I don't know why. Why was this a thing? Like, Scott, dude, come on. And at 4, travel by tracks. One of the specific requirements that I was referring to is, of course, that she actually needs to have tracks. Ballora glides around on, like, I guess what is easily described as train tracks in her studio, which she somehow also manages to spin on, but that's a whole other problem, okay? It's just like the doors, I don't want to talk about it. Without her tracks, Ballora can't even actually stand on her own, and she crawls on all fours, very disturbingly, might I add. I'm not sure how exactly she would perform if she was being rented out, like Chica was for Sister Location, though fortunately, or unfortunately, her super creepy mini arenas don't actually need tracks in order to do literally anything. So, yay! Hopefully those tracks pull her away from me just after we kiss, though, so she doesn't claw my face off. Yes, I just said that. Chica, I'm sorry. Getting close to the end in number 3, Ennard. In Sister Location, Ballora ends up getting scooped out by Baby, at least I'm pretty sure it was by Baby, and then her parts end up being used to help create Ennard. Her endoskeleton is used to form his upper body, and her eyes are used to help him disguise himself more successfully as a human, even though they only really serve as design until he shoves himself into Ennard. I mean, like, you can see all the eyes all over his body, and then when he spits them out like Ennard spaghetti, you can see just eyes flying out of him. So, I don't know why that part is listed on the wiki, but hey, who am I to argue with the wiki? You know, I'm me. I'm gonna argue with every robot I can. And ultimately, in at number 2, Mrs. Afton. Well, some theorize that Ballora is like a big sister to Circus Baby, which is definitely not true. Others believe that the two have an even weirder relationship, that for some reason, they believe Ballora is actually meant to be Circus Baby's mom. Or rather, that the spirit within Ballora, which is supposed to give her consciousness and awareness, like the original animatronics, belongs to William Afton's wife, Elizabeth Afton's mother, Mrs. Afton, sometimes referred to as Clara Afton, which is not true, but it's a name given to her by fans after the character of Clara from The Immortal and the Restless, which is the soap opera featured in Sister Location. People believe that Clara, for some reason, from the show, is supposed to be the name of Mrs. Afton, and then Vlad is supposed to be William. But then again, Vlad isn't named William, so why would Clara be called Clara? I don't get it. It has yet to be confirmed, but some heavily believe that she also died in a car accident following the death and loss of the rest of her family, and then somehow her soul became trapped inside Ballora. But the idea of a car accident comes from a Living Tombstone song, and nothing to do in the actual FNAF series. So, don't know why y'all are so hard about that. Why are you so hard-headed about this? I don't understand. Finally, in at number 1, model of. Another theory, which definitely makes more sense given what information we have on the Afton family, or at least the Afton family dynamic, is that Ballora was created after the death of Mrs. Afton, and that it was simply modeled to be like her, or designed to be kind of representative of her. Maybe Mrs. Afton was a ballerina, Or maybe some people believe that Ballora was created to be a vessel for Mrs. Afton's soul, but because she died before the animatronic was made, she was unable to possess it. However, that's also impossible since Afton only learns about possession after Baby ends up getting possessed by Elizabeth. Afton built the Funtime robots as killbots, as evidenced by their abilities and secret storage tanks. So, yeah, the whole she was possessed thing has absolutely zero evidence because these are literally designed to come up to you and make you feel safe in order for them to snatch you like you're the last turkey on Thanksgiving weekend. So her being all motherly is just a ploy to literally kill you. The only one who's possessed is Baby, and that's why they showed us her getting possessed, and that's why they changed her eye color, okay? So that we know she's the only one that's possessed. So stop this nonsense. God!